We're all in. Amazing. Okay, ready? I've got stage fright. This never happens. Hello and welcome to 2 Cups of Tea with me, Gloss. I'm here with Rory and Naomi and we're going to talk all things fitness. So, let's start with you, Rory. Let's talk about your journey.
Okay. What do you want to know?
From the beginning. Why did you get into fitness first of all?
Okay, so I didn't originally start off doing fitness. I went to uni. I studied sociology and politics at uni. Very random, nothing like what I'm doing now. And then I kind of got into what my mum and dad did, which was advertising. So I worked in London for a few years, went travelling in between that as well. And then just before COVID hit, I kind of fell out of love with what I was doing up there. I just started getting into kind of functional fitness. I joined Training Space, and I'd always been a really sporty person. I played football a lot growing up, to a half decent level. And then I kind of decided that what I really enjoyed doing was kind of being in a community-based environment, like helping people, even when I wasn't coaching, just like being around people and kind of giving little bits of advice here and there. So I thought, why not take the plunge and do my PT qualification? And then luckily enough, like kind of had a good opportunity to kind of start off at Training Space. So Danny gave me the opportunity to kind of jump in straight from my qualification and just get straight in, taking clients on, taking classes down at the gym, and kind of never looked back really. But so bit of an unorthodox route, not as similar to you. But then, it's kind of never looked back from there, really.
Mad. I actually genuinely was not expecting you to say that. That's like completely like opposite spectrum. I was expecting you to say heavily into sports. This is what I like to do. And here we are. Yeah. So when you talk about, Danny just letting you dive straight in, taking classes, obviously when I was hairdressing, that's the most important thing. That's how you're going to get the repetition. That's how you're going to build the skills. What was that like? Obviously, you were dropped right in at the deep end straight away. What was that like?
Yeah, it's like anything. When you're like at the beginning, it's nerve-wracking, but you just... I think the good thing was I was already a member there, so I knew a lot of the people.
Okay.
I knew Naomi well. She supported me a lot, and everyone was just quite open to me just giving it a go. No one made me feel like awkward about it, and you feel nervous at the beginning, but it's like anything. The more times you do it, I shadowed people a lot. I was willing to do a lot for free at the beginning, do a lot of shadow hours for no money, just like kind of getting a bit of experience, and then the more and more you get into it, the more confident you feel.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, Naomi, what about you?
So I started, I went to college, studied fitness, college, always been into fitness. As soon as I left college, I knew I wanted to run my own business and do like PTing. And if that fell off the wagon, I was going to be a PE teacher. So when I left college, I was like, you know what, I'm going to start as an apprentice in a business. Started that, didn't like it. Was like, I just want to get on my own thing. I had a very strong vision of what I wanted, where I wanted to go, and like the kind of thing I wanted to run. At this point, I was very underweight and very malnourished, and so I was like, I needed something to change for me to be like a role model, the role model I wanted to be for fitness people and for the clientele I wanted. So I started running free boot camps in the field on Bittenacre on a Tuesday morning. Got a few mums who came along, and then that they told their friends and they told their friends, and I had like a good like solid 10 people at this point. So then I was like, do you know what? I had my PT qualification. I started running a few boot camps. I got introduced to Danny through a mutual friend, where he was like, look, I'm opening my gym in January. Do you want to come along? And I like starting January, I was like, absolutely. January 2017, I went to join Danny, did a few of his classes, like Rory took me under his wing, taught me the way a little bit, whilst I was still running my free boot camps, still building up my clientele and my business. And then I stayed at Training Space for about 6 years. Loved it down there. I was a female coach. Like, got to build my confidence, got to take more classes, started my women's wellness days while still running like boot camps in Bittenacre and doing a little bit of outside work too. And then last year took the plunge, decided I wanted to step into a bigger world a little bit more, have a little bit different opportunity, try somewhere new. So that's when I went to Danbury and stepped into like the CrossFit community a little bit more. And yeah, now I haven't looked back. So it was a really hard decision leaving Training Space, because that's where I felt like home. Obviously met Rory, had like my family down there. But leaving's made no difference. Still really good friends with Rory, still got my friends, still like in good spirits with everyone, and still very supportive community, to and from each other all the time, comps. And so just a different outlook at Danbury, different gym, more of like a community-based gym. So like very much you go in, everyone does their own thing. I've got my little community at the back, you got a little function fitness area, but it's like you go in and do what you want, which was completely different when I first started, because the Training Space was very much class-driven. Everyone knew everyone. Lovely little community vibe down there. And so stepping into Danbury was a little bit like, but no, it was good. Just made me stay out my comfort zone a little bit, and here I am, just still going along with it.
I love that. So we've got two very, very different journeys. Obviously, Rory started completely not into fitness on a very different track. And then you've got Naomi, who always knew that this is what she wanted to do. So I find it really interesting. So the timeline of you both starting at Training Space, I think, is phenomenal for the fact that you were given that opportunity. I don't think, I'm going to be honest, just to relate back to hairdressing, I was working in a self-employed salon. And if it wasn't for Teresa at the time, you know, she saw something in me that I didn't see. If it wasn't for her pushing me forwards, I was driving the clients. I don't think you kind of get that same rush as opposed to somebody just, you know, being given everything, do you? I think when you work harder for your clients, when you're pushing yourself and you're motivated, I feel like the success rate is just completely different. Do you agree? What do you guys think to that?
I think like motivation and like the energy you have plays a massive part. So like your care for your clients and like the motivation you have for them to exceed, and showing your own training as well. So like me and Rory both love training. We both like encourage each other, pushing each other. And I think that's what everyone sees you like, and they're like, well, that's what I want to be part of. You know, like if you're someone who isn't that motivated, or you don't care about the end goal, that can be different, the way different people see it, and that can be put off some people. So if you're very like full of energy and like you're supporting each other, bigging each other up, and wanting the best for each other, that's what people want from like them to receive. So then I feel that's the way you can be quite successful through that.
Absolutely. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I totally agree. Just like I think the energy that you put out there and how motivated you are to do it yourself, rubs off on people, and they appreciate like how hard you're working to achieve what you're trying to get. Whereas if it's all handed to you on a plate, and just you don't have that same level of hunger, really.
No. I also think like even though you guys are very different, obviously you're male, female, you're on different trajectories, but you're sort of, I feel like I'm obviously an ex-member of Training Space, so I know Rory and Naomi very well in that respect. I've obviously watched you guys in the 2 years that I was there. I watched you guys grow and develop. And one thing that I think that you're so similar on is the way you love your clients. You don't just put together a program for them. You don't just repost whatever they're posting on social media, whatever comp they're at. I've seen you going to comps to support your clients. You go that extra mile. Rory, I mean, you were having your suit fitted, and Helen had her strongman comp, and you were messaging her just to check in, just to make sure she was okay. Like, I just don't think that people realise that when you're in this industry, it's 24/7. No,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, just going back to that last question, I think it's like we're quite relatable human beings. So like, I think being a PT, you have to relate to your clients a lot. And like we show our bad days on social media when lifts don't go very well. And that's all very relatable for everyday gym goers. Like, you're not always going to turn up gym and have a 100% session.
No.
Some days you just turn up and getting through it. And I think because we show both sides of like our successes, but also the days where you think, right, that was a rubbish session, but you know, you shake it off, you go again, you got it done. That can relate to a lot of people. And I think where also people see us gym first thing in the morning, we're the last to leave at night, people see how hard we're putting the work in. So again, it's very relatable. But yeah, the job is 24/7. Like, we have this conversation all the time. Like, when do you have that cut-off line in the evening to be like, I need to stop replying to clients or texting clients, or like, I'm the worst for it. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night panicking, like, I haven't replied to that person. I should probably reply to them, you know? Like, it's the worst thing ever. But like, I think we think people expect something really quickly.
Okay.
As in, like, clients, if they message you, we think, oh, they might want that program now, like, let's do it. Or like, and actually we've learned that people know we're human and people respect that we have our own lives too.
Yeah.
And so we've realised actually, someone might ask for something, but they're not expecting it there and then.
No.
You can reply, but I'll get that done for you X, Y, and Z, and that's okay. But sometimes I think you feel a bit under pressure, like, oh my words, they want that from me, I've got to do it straight away. And you don't have to, like, people realise that you have got a life to live as well, but it is very constant. And I think sometimes you have to put a little bit of a barrier up to protect your own, especially for, like, Rory's now, he's got a wife and stuff like that. It's a bit different for me. I haven't got that, so I could work all hours a day. But I think if you chose to, I think it's still really important. I've learned that if you don't give the time back to yourself and like have a bit of like me time and be a bit selfish, you just burn out, and that's not healthy either, because then you end up taking 5 days off rather than that one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Rory, what do you feel is like a pressure for you? Like, I mean, being female, I think I don't know about anybody else, but I would naturally go for a PT with a female trainer as opposed to a male. I feel like for me, females just understand when I'm on my period, when I'm having a bad day, when I've got an emotional burnout.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How have you built your clientele? Because you don't just PT males, you do females, you also PT kids. How have you built that portfolio?
Yeah, I think that's just being an approachable person. Like you said, and that's totally valid as well. Like if you are female, you're probably more likely to go to a female.
Yeah.
That like makes sense, and I'll never begrudge someone for doing that. But at the same time, like, hopefully if you're approachable enough, people still feel like they can trust you. I have a lot of like open conversations with my female clients about stuff like that.
Awesome.
So yeah, I think if you're just open enough and you built up enough of a rapport with that person, hopefully it shouldn't be too much of a barrier, because I would like to think I wouldn't, because coaches need coaches as well. So I would never, I go to you for advice for stuff like, you're better at gymnastics than me, so I'd like ask you questions. I don't feel any ego about going to a female. So hopefully people are open enough in 2025 that they're cool to just go with whoever. But at the same time, I do understand what you mean. It is probably more likely females will go to females. But
I love that, and I like the fact that even though that might be a challenge, you're just seeing it as, do you know what, that's okay. Come to me if you want to come to me, but also if you don't, I respect that. Do you feel like when you are coaching, when you are putting yourself out there, do you feel like your muscles need to be on point, your image needs to be on point, you need to be smiling and happy, and you need to show up and you need to give 110% as that coach? Do you feel like you need to be an all singing, all dancing pony, as it were?
I think we talk about this a lot, to be fair. Yeah, we talk about this a lot. It's like, I think there's two sides to the coin. It's like, we've always said you need to be able to kind of practice what you preach a little bit. So like, I think we have to kind of lead by example, in the sense of like, we're doing the stuff that we're telling people to do. Like if we're asking people to stay consistent with their training, and they can see clearly that we're not doing that, then it's a bit disingenuous. But at the same time, I don't think you need to be, like, to use a CrossFit example, like Tia Claire Toomey or Matt Fraser, to be the best coach. You don't have to be an absolutely incredible level athlete.
I love that.
We're still kind of trying to better ourselves, but I think as long as people can appreciate the process that you're going through, they can see it. And sometimes I think it's more relatable, because if you're too far removed from the person who you're trying to coach, they can't even conceptualize how to get there. Whereas, say, like if I use Naomi for example, 5 years ago, like, you're probably in a position where a lot of your clients are in now, and they can see you now, and they're like, well, actually that is achievable for me. Because I think we get caught up in the fact of we need to be the best athletes of all time, but actually we just need to show them that we're doing what we would encourage them to do.
I love that. And I also think, like, it's funny that you touch on that, because for me, just a backstory, I think Naomi and I will cover this in another episode, but we did weight loss together, didn't we? 2 years, I'm 6 stone down. And the reason I picked Naomi, actually, funnily enough, is because your journey from start to now is phenomenal. You turned it really around, but also it's relatable. So when I'm looking at Naomi's quads, I'm now looking at mine thinking, I can get me a bit of that. So I think what you're saying, Rory, is right. Like, I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't go to a generic gym with the beefiest man in the corner. I just wouldn't. For me, that actually, I think is quite intimidating and quite frightening. So I think it is really important to be consistent and relatable. But I also like the fact that you guys are honest with it. You're having a bad day and you show it.
Yeah, and I think that's what we have a chat about all the time. Like, we always say, like, we're nervous about a comp, or like, what if we don't perform our best at this comp? We always go back to each other being like, we're coaches, we're not athletes.
Yeah.
And although we're trying to be the best of both, at the end of the day, we're not paid athletes. So like, we all just say, as long as we try our hardest, that's all that matters. And as long as we do our best, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But I think, like, going back to like being the 100% energy all the time, I think in a job we do where we're talking to 15, 20, 30 people a day, it can be really draining. Like, you hear so many people, different stories every day. Like, people come in, you're there, I guess, their ranting space. Like, you're their person. They want to...
The emotional counsellor. Like, you're consoling them. Sometimes you're keeping secrets.
And that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we is, and that's what we say. We obviously confide in our clients a lot.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes when we're having that bad days, it's nice to sometimes... Obviously, you don't want to be that PT who's always like, oh, I'm tired, or... We're not like that. We bring the energy. But I think sometimes it's nice to... Like, we have days where we text each other being like, oh, just not feeling like ourselves, saying, and we can relate to that. But that's nice. Then we can go to our clients, they're saying, oh, do you know what, I just feel a bit like meh today. We're like, oh, we had that the other day, it's fine, just get yourself moving. Like, and it's, I guess it's nice that client can be like, oh, you're normal too, and like, you have that, you know? So yeah, I think it's just like Rory says, just being, we're approachable and relatable, really.
Yeah, I love that. When you think about, when I was in hairdressing, obviously I'm a lot older than these lovely children. When I was building my clientele, I was literally leaflet dropping. It was word of mouth. Today, it's all about social media, isn't it? Let's be honest. In the respect of promoting yourself, getting yourself out there, the tags, the this, the that. Do you feel restricted and sort of... I know myself, when I'm posting content, I actually struggle. There are some days where I'm posting sometimes, not for the sake of it, but I'm like, I haven't posted in a few days. People are asking where I am, what's going on. Do you feel like that as well? Do you feel like you have to constantly drive the content to keep people receptive with you? Or...
I think, like, social media is a really hard one. Like, if I didn't have a business, I probably wouldn't be on it because it has its positives and negatives.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to like showcase what we do and showcase our clients as well, because that's obviously how people then say, oh, their client done really well at that comp, or oh, they're lifting well, that they know what they're doing and stuff like that. So I think it is important to showcase, but I think you can get carried away. I think like some days I post loads, some days I don't, and some days I feel like, oh, bad for not posting, but life gets in the way, you're busy.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I don't want to spend all the time trying to film my client. Sometimes that takes away the point of our PT session. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to film you again, because one, they might, a couple of my clients now, they don't like the phone when it comes out because they get pressure and they're like, I can't perform now.
Okay.
But I also think when it comes to training, like we've spent so many sessions together filming our sessions and lists and stuff, and it takes away sometimes that focus of what we're doing, but also it adds on so much time.
Yeah.
You then, I guess, wasting part of the sessions too.
Do you feel like that, Rory? Because I know that, like, obviously you've taken on more actually at training space in terms of coaching now, haven't you, with compete and other aspects? Do you feel like you would rather be focused in on what's going on there? Do you struggle with like getting the content? Are you bothered about it? Like, how do you feel about all of that?
Yeah, similar. Like you can't get away from it. Like it's so important, because we've probably got quite a lot of percentage of our clients, both me and Naomi, have come through social media. So you can't say it's not important, but I think it's just like what you put out is so important as well. Because if you're just putting out rubbish, I just think it can, like, everyone's posting 24/7. I'd probably go rather for like what I post rather than how much I post. But yeah, we all feel that pressure. Like if you don't post, you're like, oh shit, I haven't put anything out today. Yeah. Feel like no one knows me. Who am like I'm no one.
Yeah.
But you got to put stuff out there. And I think at the beginning that was something I was like really, really on. And like I used to take a lot on for training space, like doing a lot of the video in, like going up to people, getting amazing angles and all this stuff. And I started like feeling like people were thinking of me as the videographer
as opposed
rather than the coach. And I was just I was doing all these like boomerangs and stuff, and I was like, what am I doing? It's like, I don't get me wrong, I like taking like cool videos. You know, I've always quite liked that. I like the kind of like the aesthetic of gyms. I quite like all, like, I'm very, very into like marketing and like I like all that side of like being a PT. But I think it got to a point where I was like, I'm probably just doing a bit too much for not my. I don't think it was like helping me. It was just like helping the gym, which was good. But then I wasn't. I want to be known for being a good coach rather than being someone who just takes cool videos
with the good content. And that, it's funny, isn't it? I also see a lot of PTs, a lot of trainers coming through. They'll randomly add you on Instagram. It's the most annoying thing for me, because I feel like, and I don't know about anybody else at home, but I don't want you to pursue me. If I want to do that, I'm going to pursue you. And I find it very off-putting, especially if then you accept the request and then they're asking you all of these things. I actually had a girl pop up the other day, really, really lovely girl, by the way. But she was nutrition. She was like, I can see you're doing really well. And I turned around to her and I said, I'm already on somebody with nutrition. She was like, oh, you haven't really posted. And I was like, I don't need to. My pictures speak volumes. If you were actually interested in me and my content of my page, you would have seen my 6 stone weight loss. You would see the progress photos. So
hard though, isn't it? Because like, if you don't reach out, some people won't get any clients. So
exactly,
I've got to like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of like cold calling people. Like, are you interested in PT? I prefer it more organic. Like, if they want to come to me, they will.
Yes.
But I know it's not as easy as that.
No.
If you're not surrounded by like a good community gym, like Danbury or Training Space, like it you probably don't have the access to that many people. If you're working in like a commercial gym and it's impossible to talk to like thousands of members, you might have to just go on Instagram and just like, are you interested in PT or
I think that differentiates like online as well. Like if you're online and you're not in person, obviously you've got to constantly be like, join my online business, because otherwise how are you ever going to get your clients, you know? I think sometimes that's what comes from like the Instagram, where a lot of like people slide into DMs and message and try and give you top tips, because I guess they're trying to get you as a client because they're online
and they've got to. It's their only way.
It's that fine line of like encouraging people but not being that like too over the top that then actually puts them off a little bit of actually I don't want to be a PT. It's quite like all eyes on you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. What would you guys say for anybody starting out? Obviously, you guys, I feel like, have had quite a niche route, you know, with joining a gym, you know, really building from the ground up. What would be your advice to anybody trying to start out? Are there specific things that you would do differently now, or do you feel like you would still do the same route?
Starting as a PT or
either coaching, PTing. What do you think? Do you think it's easier to start more as one or the other, or do you?
I think I was really appreciative of like joining somewhere which got me known and which enabled me to talk to people. And I think obviously doing my free boot camps and stuff like that in Bitnacre was a small village, and I think my family's well known in Bitnacre, so that helped me as well. And I think always being part of like a team sport and doing sport and like getting like I played for different netball teams, and obviously that community then came back to me, and people now are still like, oh, like, can I have your help from different areas I've been in my life? I think that was really helpful. But I think where a lot of my where I'd say to people is like, get yourself involved in like a good community gym where you can be exposed to a lot of people and like you can talk to them and coach them, and I think also just being like I think the best thing would be like just be a friendly coach and be like hands on and be like, oh, is there anything I can help you with? Like not being afraid of trying to help someone. So if you see something like, oh, their squat technique could be improved, go up to me like, do you mind if I like, can I help you here? Like, I think that's really important.
What do you think, Rory?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we had a bit of a different route in because it was like we've said this word a load, but like a community based gym, and we got given a chance, and it's really, really difficult to do. Like we've known a lot of people in the last 5-6 years who have started out and had to go to commercial gyms, and they really, really struggle to get themselves out there, build a client base. But if you're if I was going to give advice to like a coach starting in the industry we started in, so more like, your kind of CrossFit functional community based gyms, then just do as much shadowing as possible, do as much like getting out, just, talking to as many people as possible, because it like, the broader your base is and the more people who kind of like know, knowing you is, but like is a bit of a weird way of putting it, but like the more people who know you at the beginning as someone who's always there, just doing just kind of like a friendly face, like sometimes I think even jumping in classes and just people are like, oh, they're pretty handy, they know what they're doing, or like, just showing your face as much as you can. I know it's easier said than done because everyone's got bills to pay, but trying to do a few bits for free at the beginning will help you, because it just shows that you're keen to learn. But probably best advice for someone starting out in our type of gym industry is like be as recognizable and as friendly and approachable, and be there as much as you can at the beginning.
I love that. So there we go. That was 2 cups of tea with me, and I'll see you next time.